I was 3 states away on a business trip when a notification popped up on my phone that would end my marriage before the night was even over. It wasn't a text, it wasn't a phone call, it was my own home security camera, and what it showed me changed absolutely everything. My name is Adam Foster. I'm 42 years old and I work as a regional sales manager, which means I spend a good chunk of every month on the road, staying in hotels that all start to look exactly the same after a while. My wife Rachel and I had been married for 10 years, and together we had a 6-year-old son named Mason. The reason I pushed through every long flight and every missed dinner without complaining. That night, I was sitting in a hotel room in Denver, half watching television, half scrolling through emails, when my phone buzzed with a motion alert from the camera we had installed above our front door, for package deliveries, and the occasional raccoon that liked to knock over our trash cans. I almost ignored it. I had gotten dozens of these alerts before, usually nothing more than a neighbor walking their dog. But something made me open the app that night instead of swiping the notification away. The video loaded slowly, buffering for a few seconds before it finally played. And what I saw made my stomach drop straight through the floor of that hotel room. A car I did not recognize pulled into our driveway. A man stepped out, casual, comfortable, like he had done this exact walk up to our front door dozens of times before. Rachel opened the door before he even knocked, already smiling, already reaching for him like it was the most natural thing in the world. I sat frozen on the edge of that hotel bed, watching my wife pull a stranger into our house, into the home where our son slept every single night. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped my phone. Part of me wanted to call her immediately, to scream, to demand an explanation right then and there. But something colder took over instead, something that told me to keep watching, to keep recording, to gather every single second of proof before I said a single word to anyone. I sat there in that hotel room until almost 3 in the morning, replaying that footage over and over, and by the time the sun came up, I already knew exactly what I was going to do next. I did not call Rachel that night. I did not send a single message. Instead, I sat in that hotel room until sunrise, scrolling backward through weeks of stored footage from that same camera, footage I had never once thought to check before. What I found made that first night feel almost mild in comparison. The same car had shown up at least 6 times over the past 2 months, always in the early afternoon, always while Mason was still at school and I was somewhere out of state. Sometimes the man stayed for less than an hour. Once he stayed for almost 3. I sat there watching clip after clip, feeling something inside me shift with each new video. It was not just anger anymore, it was something quieter, more focused, almost surgical. The next morning, I called my office and told them I needed to extend my trip by a few extra days, using a client meeting as an excuse that did not actually exist. Then I called a private investigator a coworker had mentioned once, half joking, after his own messy divorce. Within 24 hours, I had someone quietly confirming what the camera had already shown me. The man was Jason Pierce, a personal trainer who worked at the gym Rachel had joined nearly 3 months earlier, right around the time she suddenly started going 4 or 5 times a week instead of her usual once on Saturdays. I flew back home 2 days later than originally planned, walking through our front door with a calm expression I did not actually feel inside. Rachel greeted me the way she always did, a quick kiss, a question about my flight, complaining lightly about how tired she felt from her workouts that week. I smiled and told her I had missed her. Every single word felt like sand in my mouth. Over the next week, I said nothing about what I already knew. I played my role perfectly, asking about her day, helping Mason with his homework, sitting beside Rachel on the couch some evenings like everything between us was still completely normal. But behind that calm surface, I was quietly building something far bigger than a simple confrontation. I met with a divorce attorney the following Monday, carrying a folder filled with printed screenshots, timestamps, and a detailed report from the investigator I had hired. My attorney looked through everything carefully before glancing up at me. "You've done more homework than most of my clients manage in months," she said. I needed to be sure, I told her, before I do what I'm about to do next. My attorney laid out my options carefully. Divorce filings, custody considerations for Mason, and how evidence like mine typically played out in court. But I already knew paperwork alone was not going to be enough for me. Not after watching those videos over and over, not after realizing how easily Rachel had lied to my face every single day for months. I wanted her to feel the exact moment everything unraveled, the same way I had felt it, alone, in a hotel room 3 states away, so I planned it carefully. Rachel's birthday was coming up in 2 weeks, and every year her entire family gathered at her parents' house for a small celebration. Her mother, her father, her sister, everyone who had spent years telling me how lucky I was to have married someone so wonderful. I decided that was exactly where this needed to happen. In the days leading up to it, I continued playing my part perfectly. I helped Rachel plan the party. I picked up a cake from her favorite bakery. I even suggested we invite a few of her closest friends, the same friends I had quietly discovered, through my investigator, had known about Jason for weeks and said absolutely nothing to me. The morning of the party, I printed everything. Time-stamped screenshots from the camera footage, a summary report from the investigator, laid out in plain, simple language anyone could understand, and a single printed photograph, the clearest image from that very first night, Rachel pulling Jason through our front door with a smile she had not given me in longer than I wanted to admit. I placed everything inside a plain manila folder and tucked it into my bag before we left for her parents' house. The party started exactly the way every other family gathering had for the past decade. Laughter, small talk, Mason running around the backyard with his cousins, Rachel glowing under the attention of family members who adored her. I waited until most of the cake had been cut, until the room felt warm and comfortable, until Rachel stood in the middle of the living room opening gifts, surrounded by everyone she loved most. Then I quietly walked over, set the folder down gently on the coffee table in front of her, and said just 5 words, calm enough that the entire room fell silent almost instantly. I think everyone deserves honesty. Rachel's smile disappeared the second she saw what was inside that folder, and the silence that followed was louder than anything I had ever heard in my entire life. Rachel's hands trembled as she opened the folder, her face draining of color the second she saw that photograph. Her mother leaned over her shoulder, confusion turning to shock as she scanned the printed timestamps and the investigator's report. "Adam, what is this?" Rachel whispered, though the way her voice shook told me she already knew exactly what it was. "That's the front door camera," I said calmly, my voice steady despite everything I felt underneath. "From the days you told me you were at the gym, or running errands, or visiting your sister." The room stayed completely silent. Her father set down his drink. Her sister looked away, unable to meet anyone's eyes, and in that single moment I understood she had known the entire time, too. Rachel tried to speak, tried to explain, tried to find some version of the truth that might soften what everyone in that room had just seen with their own eyes, but there was no explanation left that could undo time-stamped footage of another man walking into our home, into our son's home, again and again over the course of months. "I'm not here to embarrass you in front of your family," I said quietly. "I'm here because I think everyone in this room deserves to know why our marriage is ending. Not rumors, not excuses, the truth." I picked Mason up from the backyard a few minutes later, told him we were heading home early, and drove away from that house without looking back once. The divorce moved forward quickly after that. With the evidence already documented and confirmed, there was very little Rachel's attorney could argue against. I was granted primary custody of Mason, given the clear pattern of dishonesty and the repeated presence of another man inside our home during unsupervised hours. Jason, the personal trainer, quietly left that gym a few weeks later, transferring to a different branch across town, likely hoping to avoid the awkward questions that inevitably followed once word spread through Rachel's own circle of friends. As for Rachel, she reached out to me several times over the following months, apologizing, asking for a chance to explain herself properly. I never fully closed that door out of spite, mostly because Mason still needed both of his parents involved in his life. But the marriage itself, the trust we once shared, that door closed permanently the moment I watched that first video from a hotel room 3 states away. Looking back now, I do not regret how I handled it. I did not scream. I did not destroy anything. I simply gathered the truth, quietly, patiently, and let it speak for itself in the one place she never expected it to surface. If this story hit close to home, if you have ever discovered something that changed everything you believed about someone you trusted completely, share your story in the comments below. Someone else watching this right now might need to hear it today. And if you enjoyed this story, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next story.